We're going to talk about what has happened in Ukraine on this day of the Russian invasion. We'll examine the actions and the strategies, both military and political. Now, if this is your first time watching, my name is Darren Gertis. I'm a professor who's built multiple leadership programs at Charleston Southern University. So we'll also view these events through the lens of leadership. And I also wrote a book about Zelensky called I Need Ammunition, Not a Ride, and you can find it on Amazon.
So here's what I want you to see. Now this is a deep state map. It shows everything going on, and you'll see it is 601. So I rewound it to the beginning of June. And I want you to look at three areas. Kharkiv up here in the north, it's right on the Russian border. So if you look over here, this is Russian territory. Belgorod, that's Russian territory. And the Ukrainians have rolled the Russians back almost to the border, but then they made progress. And then I want you to look at Slovyansk, and I want you to look at Severodonetsk and Lysychansk over here. But let's look, we're going to see what happens. I'm going to play, so this will go like day after day, 6-1, 6-2, that kind of thing. I'll just click on it, 6-2. Look at Kharkiv and look at the Russian progress. Russians are in red, and you'll see they're starting to make some real inroads into that region, and they're pushing back on what's going on with in Kharkiv. So they've made some progress. Okay, let's look at it again. Go back to 601. And let's now see the difference. It's pretty amazing. Now there's also an attack from Izium and Lyman over here. Lyman's over here and Izium here towards Slovansk. So as I'm going to click on that again, you'll see they start taking some more ground as they move towards Slovyansk. Okay, and so that's the next city that they're really after. Okay, now we'll do it again. And now we're going to go and look at Severodonetsk and Lysychansk. And when we're looking at Severodonetsk and Lysychansk, its sister city across the river, I want you to look not only at what's going on there, but what's coming up from the south. Okay, so I'm going to click on this again, and look how they're going to start to encircle from below, as Severodonetsk is right here, is held by the Ukrainians, and now they're going to start getting pushed out. And look what's happening not only there, but in the south as I click forward. See, they keep spreading northward, trying to encircle these cities. Okay, and so that's what's happened as of today. So that's what's going on the map. Now, I'm going to click on a few other things. The Guardian reports yesterday, Russian forces capture settlements near Lysychansk and Severodonetsk as it happened. Okay, and so what they're talking about here is Metrikaline, I can't pronounce any of these, was just captured. This is on the outskirts. The Ukrainians are still here, but they're barely holding on in Severodonetsk, and Lysychansk is just being bombarded into oblivion. Okay, so I update these daily, and these are on YouTube, so you can go out into YouTube and you can see any of these videos where I'm talking about like what's happened and why. And you can also find these on Rumble. If you have a Rumble account, you just look up what happened in Ukraine today on Rumble, or on YouTube, what happened in Ukraine. And then now I look at things like Voice of America, or Al Jazeera actually does a really good job, The Guardian, and other places. Yesterday's most recent update was, and again, this is for the 21st. Recent fighting has favored Russia because of its huge edge in artillery firepower, a fact Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky acknowledged in late Tuesday night address. Okay, yeah, and that's confirmed. Basically, what's happened here is that in Severodonetsk, let's say, the Ukrainians are outgunned about 10 shells to 1, and this was established about a week, maybe a little over a week ago. Every 10 shells the Russians fire, Ukrainians fire 1 back because they're low on ammunition. And while they are getting these U.S. systems, they have the ammunitions, but they don't have the systems in place yet. So that's a big problem. Okay, so I want to go to the Institute for the Study of War. They said something really fascinating here on the 21st. The Kremlin recently replaced the commander of the Russian airborne forces and may be in the process of radically reshuffling the command structure. Well, you don't do that when things are good. I was thinking, wow, that's really interesting. And then I got down to this line. Such drastic rotations within the Russian military, if true, are not actions taken by a force on the verge of a major success and indicate ongoing dysfunction in the Kremlin's conduct of the war. Yeah, that's right. Russian forces are successfully advancing toward Lysychansk for the south, and that's what I just pointed out. And this Russian advance is a clear setback for Ukrainian defenses in the Severodonetsk-Lysychansk area, but Russian forces will likely require further protracted battles with Ukrainian forces, similar to block fighting in Mariupol and Severodonetsk in order to capture Lysychansk. Okay, and that may or may not happen. It depends on how soon the better armament, the better rocket systems, the better artillery can get into this region, because if they can get into there, they can start blasting back away at them and backing them way up. The problem is you can shoot artillery from way back here, and the Ukrainians can't hit it because their artillery doesn't go the distance what they currently have. Russian forces are committing unprepared contract servicemen to the invasion of Ukraine. The BBC's Russian service reported on June 20th that new Russian recruits receive only 3 to 7 days of training, so they're just getting fed into a grinder with no training or very little training. The UK intelligence update said something really interesting about this. On June 17th, this is a few days ago, Ukrainian forces claimed their first successful use of Western-donated Harpoon anti-ship missiles to engage Russian maritime forces. They hit a tug, a Russian naval tug, and I'll show you a picture of that in a moment. And they also just hit some, and then the tug was just off Snake Island. Remember the Russian vessel, go bleep yourself? And they captured Snake Island, and they bombed it once before, and they hit this tug. And Ukrainian coastal defenses capability has largely neutralized the Russian ability to establish sea control, which has undermined the viability of Russians' original operation designed for the invasion, which involved holding the Odessa region at risk from the sea. So, you know, it's really hurt the threat that the Russians had on the coast. U.S. News here is going to show the tug that was sunk. This is it, and while it's not big, it's not the Moskva. Yeah, they've been able to successfully use Harpoon missiles and show that they can destroy it. The Guardian also has a report of Ukrainian missiles hit Black Sea gas platforms. And now these are off Crimea, which is held by Russia, and Russia annexed in 2014. And these were apparently used for some kind of military surveillance as well. But just to show that they can do it is pretty powerful. Okay, let's turn our attention to Kaliningrad. Now this seems like a weird thing to be looking on. If you look at the map, Ukraine is here, Kaliningrad is this little slice, and it's actually part of Russia. Okay, so Russia's over here, Kaliningrad is a state, or is a province within Russia. It's called an oblast, and that's like the equivalent of a state in the United States. And it's a outcome of the Second World War. So in the Second World War, what happened? Like, let's look at a map here. So it used to be Königsberg, and Königsberg is where this guy comes from. This is Prince Albert, and this is Queen Victoria. He was from Königsberg, and Königsberg was part of Prussia, which extended all the way up here, or one of the German states, which became Prussia, rather. I should say it that way, to be more accurate. Now, this is part of Poland, and Königsberg's up here. If you look at a modern map of, like, this is Germany today, and this was extending all the way up here. And part of that was at the end of World War II, which was divided, or Germany was divided between the powers, and then these German-held lands were redistributed. Now, the Soviet Union had Russia, they had the Baltic states, this is Lithuania, this is what was Königsberg, which became Kaliningrad, and this is Poland, Belarus, Ukraine, right? And so there was no problem of this becoming a state of Russia, even though it's not connected, during that time, because it was all part of the Soviet sphere, right? And they could always go through the Black Sea over to St. Petersburg if they wanted, although this ice is up in the winter, so it might not be the best way to travel, but that's what's going on there. Okay, so the question in The Guardian is, why is Kaliningrad the center of a row between Russia and Lithuania? Well, Lithuania decided we're no longer going to permit, and let me show you the map again. Well, let me scroll down to show you the map. We're not going to permit Kaliningrad to use its rail to go through to Belarus or to Russia for sanctioned goods that the EU has sanctioned. And because they've done that, Kaliningrad is really stuck. They can't go through Lithuania. They sure aren't going to be able to go through Poland. Poland's even more hostile to Russia right now. So they can go through the Black Sea. They can ship things through the Black Sea up here to St. Petersburg, but that's kind of cost prohibitive. Now, Lithuania also did something else. They shut off gas reserve, or the gas pipeline that goes from Russia into Kaliningrad that's historically run through there. And Russia is going freaking nuts over that. I mean, they're just, they can't figure out what them. So, by the way, let's talk a little bit more about Kaliningrad first. Kaliningrad is just over 5,800 square miles, so it's a little larger than the state of Connecticut. It's got about 1 million people in the population here. So one of Russia's states is being essentially contained by little Lithuania with 3 million people, and Lithuania is just poking Russia in the eye on behalf of Ukraine. So what's the problem? Just under half of the goods that usually transit through Lithuania, including coal, metals, construction and materials, and advanced technology, are covered by this ban on exports. So they're not able to do that. And so the Russian foreign minister was going nuts about this. Russia's Security Council head, Nikolai Patrushev, said on Tuesday that there would be serious consequences for Lithuanians in the near future. Now, that sounds like, just bluster, but after what you saw, and I'm going to come back to this in a second, after what we saw 2 weeks ago, Putin compared himself to Peter the Great in a speech just a few weeks ago. Peter the Great waged the Great Northern War for 21 years. It would seem that this war with Sweden, he took something from them, and he said he did not take anything from them, he returned them. So he returned, what did he return? He returned the Baltic states to Russia. Okay, that's what Peter the Great did. Actually, it wasn't Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia, I believe, which are right next to. Okay, so this is up here just below Sweden and Finland, Sweden. These two are about to join NATO because Russia's a little nuts. So if you're looking at the map and you understand the history, Finland, Sweden, they return these states to Russia. Okay, that's what he was talking about here. And so let me read this because I put it into my. Whoops. I put it into my book. I update my book weekly. I'm about a week behind of current events each week. But on Thursday the 9th, I said, meanwhile in Russia, on the 350th birthday of Peter the Great, that's this guy here, Putin likened himself to the Tsar for whom St. Petersburg is named. Describing the land that Peter the Great conquered and added to the empire, Putin said he was returning it and strengthening it. This land included the Baltic states and Finland. Ominously, Putin added, well, apparently it has also fallen to us to return and to strengthen. Wow, like Ukraine? And he said none of the countries in Europe recognized it as Russian at the time. None of them did. And so, yeah, that's something. Okay, so it made me think of this, and that's why I kept coming back to this picture. Like, I remember watching this documentary, like, what's the most dangerous animal in Africa? So is it a lion? Is it the mosquito? Is it maybe a cougar or this cute little kitty? Some kind of snake? Something, more dangerous like a hippo or maybe a crocodile? No, you know what it is? It's the hyena. It's the dog. And there's a reason for it. The greatest success rate, African wild dogs have an 85% successful kills. And the reason is, it's because it's a pack fight, right? So Russia is not just at war with Ukraine, but with Poland and Latvia and Lithuania and Estonia, and at least in supplying and helping. And what Lithuania is doing to calling Russia as Kaliningrad right here is really unnerving the Russians. Okay, that's all that I have. Thanks for your time.
Hey, if this video was helpful, hit like to help others find it in YouTube's algorithm. Subscribe so that you can stay informed. And one more thing, if you are moved to contribute to the humanitarian aid for Ukraine, I have a link below for Samaritan's Purse. If you want to give, be sure to give only to reputable organizations. There's a lot of scammers out there. Thanks for your time.